everybody, and welcome back to another episode of What's the Word? I'm your host, Abby, and today we have a special guest for you. Today we're joined with Jennifer James. And Jennifer, why don't you give us a little bit of background about yourself?
Hi, thank you for the introduction. My name is Jennifer. A lot of people knew me as Jen. And so I am from the Embry-Riddle-Prescott campus, and my major was in space physics. I graduated in the class of 2022. I had a really good time at Embry-Riddle, and I would want to say that my favorite experience having done at Embry-Riddle was two things. It was my research experience with Dr. Quentin Bailey in the physics department. And the other experience I loved doing was we went out onto the green in front of the student union and we painted the black hole on the rock out there because it had just been imaged, and I think it was 2019. And we decided to be a couple of nerds to go out there and paint a big black hole on the traditional rock in the student union yard. And that was great.
Oh, that sounds so much fun. Perfect. And so what's your current job right now?
So currently, I am a PhD candidate at Vanderbilt University. So right now, I am doing research in high energy or heavy ion accelerator physics. And so my job is basically being a graduate student. And I guess my favorite part about the job is having an independent sense of work and also being able to travel for work as well. I get a lot of opportunities to go to New York and work on the accelerator there.
Oh, wow. Okay. And so what does working on the accelerator look like? If you could give us a quick rundown of it.
Yeah, so there is an accelerator in Long Island, New York. It's called the Relativistic Heavy Ion Collider. And on this collider, there are a few detectors or collaborations. I am part of the S Phoenix collaboration, which is the super pioneering heavy ion nuclear experiment. And so what we do there is essentially we have this accelerator, it's accelerating ions at close to the speed of light. They crash into each other inside of our detector. And our detector is basically like a big camera, but it takes very microscopic images of these interactions. And so when I go there to work, I essentially have four positions I could take. I could be a shift leader, I could be a detector operator, I could be a data monitor, or I could be a data acquisitor. And so all of those jobs are independent, but they work hand in hand. And so the one that I like to do the most, and I'll describe for you, is detector operator. And so essentially, what you do there is you start your shift. You are an 8-hour shift, and you are in charge of turning on and off all of the sub detector or the components of the overall detector. And at the very beginning of the run, when a lot of stuff is still being figured out, it can be a kind of stressful situation. But along the run, which is about a year, you'll start to get the hang of it and things will smooth out a little more.
Okay, wow. That sounds very, very fun. Very exciting. And so are you able to tie writing into that a lot?
Yes. So actually, before you called, I was in the middle of writing an internal note. It's like a paper, but only for the collaboration to use. Right now, we have a bunch of data from the past 2 years, and our job is to kind of summarize what's going on with the data that we have so that we can be successful this year's run.
Oh, wow. Okay. And so for that, would you say there's typically a genre of writing you rely on more so than others?
Honestly, there's so many emails, so many presentations. I think my main form of communication would be emails. However, it depends on who you talk to, on how formal you want that email to be, of course. And I also do a lot of presentations, and those presentations need to be really concise and clear, which is a skill you develop as you practice and make presentations more often. And that's definitely one of my weak points when I joined graduate school, is just like making sure that the information is conveyed clearly on a slide. There's not too much going on or too little going on. And then, of course, there's technical paper writing. So you introduce your abstract, your methods of experimentation, your analysis, and your conclusions, of course.
Okay, perfect. And would you say that word choice goes into play a lot more so in graduate school than in undergraduate school?
Honestly, I would want to say they are the same. You want everything to be concise and you want the message to be conveyed clearly. And I think I experienced that when I was writing my paper with Dr. Quentin Bailey. And it relayed a lot to my current writing. Now, in terms of presentations, there's definitely an expectation to have more clarity because you're at a higher level of your educational career. But I would say like the goal did not change.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. And have you noticed any big similarities or differences in the writing you did at Embry-Riddle and the writing you're doing in graduate school?
Back in undergrad, I think there was a little bit more of a lax because back in undergrad, they wanted you to be a little bit more thorough about what you were doing so that they can make sure you understood what was going on, like to a T. Whereas in my graduate school career, there's the expectation that, okay, you understand a lot of what is going behind what you're saying, so you can say a little bit less.
Perfect. And is there anything you wish you would have known about writing or just in general before leaving Embry-Riddle?
I think in terms of writing, I think presentation practice could have been implemented further.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And so that leads me right into my last question for you today, Jen. What advice do you have for our current Eagles?
So there are a few things, but I guess one thing that I would tell students is that I know a lot of them, and even myself, they want to be over successful. They want to achieve so much, but this is also a very sensitive time in your life when you need to understand where to put yourself, whether that is before your work or after. And what I want students to do more of is take care of themselves. Because if you're staying up until 3 a.m. doing work every night, the work is going to degrade in quality over time. So if you can take care of yourself yesterday, today you will be doing great. And so that's my, in short, word of advice is to please take care of yourself and take mental breaks and physical breaks when you need to. And you'll still be successful in the end. The science or whatever you're doing will be there in the end.
And that is great advice. Thank you so much, Jennifer. And that wraps up this week's episode of What's the Word? We want to give Jennifer a big thank you for being on with us this week. We loved having you. If you're new to our podcast, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or YouTube, and stay tuned for more.
This podcast is supported by the Department of Humanities and Communication at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Prescott, Arizona. Our hosts are Abigail Bradbury and Owen Smith. Matthew Haslam is the department chair, and I'm Amelia Chesley, assistant professor of professional writing. Many thanks to the Prescott Campus Writing and Design Lab for hosting our transcripts. The intro and outro music is Wanderer by Alex. You can find us where most podcasts are found, and please do reach out if you are a Prescott Campus alum. We'd love to feature you in a future episode.